We're here to say this war must end. The occupation of Afghanistan and Iraq and Palestine and Haiti must end. Occupation is a crime. Iraq, Afghanistan, Palestine. Occupation is a crime. Iraq, Afghanistan, Palestine. Occupation is a crime. No escalation.
Bring the troops home now.
No escalation.
Bring the troops home now.
Wall Street's war.
We say no.
Occupation's got to go. Wall Street's war.
We say no.
Occupation's got to go. Every soldier's family and every friend of the soldiers who are there should know that they are being used for cannon fodder in a war for corporate America, for the military-industrial complex, a war for the same banks that have bankrupted so many people in this country and have driven the economy down. Those are the only beneficiaries of this war, corporate America and the banks. And that's why we say, Wall Street's war, we say no. Occupation's got to go. Wall Street's war.
We say no.
Occupation's got to go.
San Francisco, through the public schools, is actively recruiting soldiers to go fight in Iraq and Afghanistan through the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. San Francisco is hosting Fleet Week to make it look really exciting, to have big planes that are actually bombers flying over the city and trying to get kids all excited about the military.
I am one of 5 women who stood in front of the federal building, the old one on Golden Gate Avenue, 8 years ago tomorrow, and held signs protesting the bombing of Afghanistan, the poorest country in the world, by our country, the richest country in the world. And that vigil has gone on as long as this war. We were called traitors. But people are starting to change their minds finally in this country. It is long past time to listen to the voices of women on the subject of Afghanistan. 8 years, $250 billion, and many thousands of lives later.
And the war against Afghanistan, while we say that today is the 8th anniversary of the start of the war, in fact, that is not correct. The war against Afghanistan began in the Carter administration. It began in 1979, the year after a revolution in Afghanistan, where people came to power who were trying to modernize the country, to end illiteracy, to bring about land reform, to feed the population. And it was that revolution, just like the revolution that happened the same year in Nicaragua, that the United States intervened in to destroy it. The guilt of the United States government and the ruling class of the United States is very, very deep. They are not acting on behalf of the Afghan people, or the Iraqi people, or the Israeli people, or the Palestinian people, or the Haitian people, or the people here. They're acting on behalf of their profits. And that is all.
I remember several years ago, after the war started in Afghanistan, watching a picture of children in the middle of nowhere, in rags, in the cold, brutal winter, in a tent that looked like it was just going to blow away. And I've always thought about those children and their families, and all the people of Afghanistan who suffered the bombing, who lost so many people, who suffered the terror of planes flying over, and daisy-cutter bombs of 15,000 pounds, and other weapons being used against them. And all I can say is that it's great that you're all here today, because every protest counts, and everybody counts in this struggle against the war. Because the Blue Angels couldn't raise enough money for their flights over the city, the city has given them a grant. Now what I think we got to do is find out how much that grant is and demand that that money get used for the people. It's an outrage. It's an advertisement for war. Cuba just requested the other day for permission to buy vaccines for the H1N1 virus. And this criminal government, acting on behalf of its ruling class, is saying no and saying they will keep this blockade in place. And representing Cuba in this country are 5 men in U.S. prison. And you all know I'm talking about the Cuban 5 heroes. The Cuban 5, someone said to me today, well, it doesn't look like they'll ever get out. And I have to tell you, the Cuban 5 will be free, and they will be home someday. Not soon enough, but as long as the people struggle, we know that they'll be home someday.
As a former Vietnam veteran, I've seen what war can do. I've seen innocent men, innocent people die. I've seen innocent people being killed for no reason at all. I saw that there was no victory in Vietnam. I've seen no victory in Iraq, and I see no victory in Afghanistan. All I see is escalation at the same time as the U.S. economy is falling. I see that we are not getting any bailouts. Americans are still in the same situation that they've been, and the situation is worsening. We don't see money trickling down to us. All money is trickling up is to bombs and airplanes where people are not asking for intervention. Lost in all of this is what happened to the sovereignty of nations. Don't nations have sovereignty? We ask not only for the independence and the sovereignty and the respect of nations, but also for the independence of Puerto Rico and other colonies of the U.S.
We can no longer stand seeing homeless people on the streets while banks are getting huge bonuses, because we can no longer see the suffering that wars bring to Afghanistan, to Iraq, while military contractors make billions. We are fed up, and that's why this movement needs to continue.
U.S. out of the Middle East.
No justice, no peace. U.S. out the Middle East.
This movement we have been building is incredibly important because, as I said, it is the one thing, joining with all the people around the world in assistance, that can really put an end to criminal occupations, that can really get us what we need. The Answer Coalition, and Answer stands for Act Now to Stop War and End Racism, has been fighting year after year to build this movement. And while they spend $500 billion, $500 million every day, think about that. $500 million every day in Iraq and Afghanistan. The kind of money that could get us what we need here, jobs, healthcare, and education. While the insurance industry spends $125 billion a year to say no to public healthcare, we organize because we are dedicated to it. We don't have the money they have. We are volunteers, and everything we do costs money. And that's what my speech here today is. It is a special message to say, build the movement with us. Be with us in this movement. Be part of it and make it happen. We don't have